you unmute yours and put your computer closer to him. Yeah.
Kind of managing sidewalks and pavement. And so we've put together some GIS applications with some dashboards to help our internal staff know where the roads are and what condition they're in, and kind of plan ahead to where we need to spend or budget the money, spend the CIP monies to rehabilitate the roads, extend their life as much as possible, or replace eventually. So, and same thing with the sidewalks. So we have all of the sidewalk observations, some of them, most of them by our internal staff. Sometimes people will call in and say, hey, sidewalk in front of my house needs some help. We catalog that and then budget accordingly as we're able to, right? So GIS is a big help for that. Another thing we do is we send those little strips, the rumble strips that you for the traffic studies, count the cars. And so every time we do that, we'd put one of those units out and collect the traffic that passes on that street for a week and summarize the results. And so we said, hey, well, GIS can start to aggregate those rather than just, oh, we did a study here, we did a study there. Let's start aggregating the results. So we loaded all of those studies into a database and we're able to map all of the studies and aggregate the stats from all of the studies. So our staff can go in and say, well, I just want the ones along one particular road. And it'll aggregate the ones from the different studies over time on that road and give them a more comprehensive view of what's happening as far as the traffic goes. So the GIS software can be pretty a valuable tool. It can be powerful, but it's only as good as the data, right, that you put into it. So I didn't know how familiar you guys were with kind of how GIS data is stored. My GIS 101 explanation or description is one sentence. It's like a spreadsheet where you have rows and you have columns, like in Excel, but then you tack on a location. And so your rows would represent anything that you want to track. The columns would represent information about that thing that you're tracking. And so you can design a table to store whatever information you want. And then represent it on a map with either a point or a line or a polygon, right? So here's an example of the parks and trails. And so you see all these lines throughout Provo. One of the columns is path type, which we're symbolizing the data by. So we got these backcountry trails, we got the bike lanes in green and the trails in black. So this is a pretty good inventory so far of the trails. And it does get a little complicated, which I'll get into. So again, picture like a spreadsheet, but with a shape attached. And then these columns are the stuff that we want to track about those lines, right? And so we can say whether it's a bike lane, trail, whatever those are. And so I put the different values here of what the path type can be. That was by design, and then what this surface can be by design. So you kind of try to plan ahead and figure out what information you want to track about your assets and design the table to store that information. So if I were to categorize the data, I'd probably do 3 different categorizations to try to help. Like an inventory would just be like a complete set of data, right? So we want all the trails we want represented, and that would be like an inventory. Routing would be like we do with Google Maps, where I want to go from point A to point B. How do I get there? What's the best path, right? And that's a network. And then operational might be day-to-day tracking of performance and use. For example, after a snowstorm, the snowplow the roads, and sometimes they don't snowplow the bike lanes. And so I'm sharing the lanes with traffic, and maybe I want to mark that spot, so that I can report that or communicate that out to other riders or something like that. So that'd be like an operational use where I want to communicate to others what's going on in this trail, right? So, and that data would be kind of separate, that overlays on top of the trail networks. And as far as the Esri software now with this grant, yeah, so Esri has, let's see. So for inventory, it's like a survey, routing, your network. Operational could be crowdsourced, where everyone's contributing to these issues that pop up. And as far as software, Esri has a pretty cool application that runs on phones, tablets, laptops, desktops called Field Map. That once you create the map and publish it to a service, you can consume that service in the software, right? And to put the app on your phone or your laptop, your tablet is free. But to publish the service, that's where the software would come into place. Where you design how you want it to look in Pro, publish it to your organizational account, Esri's become ArcGIS Online or AGO, and then that gets consumed. Networking is quite difficult and quite complex. Google has it down, and you can use Google Maps to bicycle. You can go in and say, I want to get from point A to point B, but I want to use public transit, I want to drive, I want to walk, or there's an option for bicycle, right? And it's pretty good from what I can tell, like as far as knowing where valid bike paths are. To create data that can answer those questions is quite complex. And so it might be beyond the scope of what we are capable of with this group. And then for the crowdsourcing, there's other software as well, like Survey 123 or Field Map can do this, where you can open it up to anybody with a link, and it'll open up the app. It will capture their GPS location with their phone or their tablet. They can take pictures, they can enter in comments, and so forth. So it makes it very easy for crowdsourced data. So I think that's all I got. So Britton was explaining that you guys have a grant for the Esri software so that you can now publish these services, make them available to anyone. And Provo is interested in, we've started this inventory of the parks and trails, but we oftentimes don't have the manpower to update it or to keep it current. And so we're interested in anybody who's willing to help with that in any way that we can. So even if these maps or the grant expires and these map services have to go somewhere else, Provo would be interested in hosting those map services from that point forward if needed. And so it would just mean that all of the information that's coming back to the apps would come back to Provo through our servers. So that's kind of like my idea. I don't know if you have questions as far as like what or ideas, as far as what you guys are interested in doing with GIS. Written.
So one thing I hope to do, now that we have the Esri grant and we have the organizational account, I'd like to be able to have options where normal residents who aren't just like students going to like BYU or UVU, that they can learn how to use GIS for their own lives, for their own careers. What like rising careers have you seen that have been using GIS a lot recently?
Everything, like the concept of the spreadsheet, right? Like if you can think of something that you want to track, whatever asset it is, chances are you can attach a geographic representation. Maybe not so much in the financial side, I'm not tracking like dollars in accounts in places, but I've seen it. GIS implemented everywhere. In fact, I went back to get a master's in business administration to try to figure out how to meld GIS with marketing. So I got an emphasis in marketing and wanted to kind of close that gap on where marketers are not using GIS. I mean, GIS is even being used for by doctors' offices now for health history. Like, if I've lived in different places, there could be I could be more prone to different types of ailments. So it's hard to say where it can't be applied. Yeah. I know you have a question, Jason.
I guess what type of access would we as a group have to shape files that not only we could contribute to, but also have shared with us so that we could form questions we have.
Here's a good place to start, right? So we can share this data with you that you can use as a basis to go off of. And then maybe like we do the observations for the sidewalks, we can start to create new data that we're going to overlay.
So is the objective for us to maybe create our own data sources for output, and maybe not the other way around?
I'd recommend that. I mean, that's my question to you guys is what data do you want to track?
Yeah.
Is it on a day-to-day basis, is it just a matter of, hey, I want to go try this trail? Where is it? Or is it, hey, we're using this trail a lot and there's issues?
That sort of information seems static to me. It doesn't answer questions. And what I would like to have multiple sorts of data we retain. And
It's a bit of an idea of what was doing. But the more information you have.
yeah. So maybe problem spots, right?
Right.
Where, there's conflict with traffic and bikers, and see where there's hot spots, right?
My question is,
Yeah.
I mean, if we get enough information, will it be demonstrated to the city? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put as much, work that I'm doing with BikeWalk Provo and have the city just like, it's data.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, like last time, I love Kahan, but he made it seem like, as a collective, I don't know if we have that much power. And so I don't know what kind of data is going to sway our local officials to do something more effective. Do you know what I mean?
That's a great point, and it's always a
This
possibility.
I'm sorry, I've become so jaded. I'm so sorry.
I think data is a great place to start.
Yeah.
Our group is so small that the data that we would collect probably would inform too much. Where
Wouldn't it be cool if we could get other people involved? So college students, like people who are actually interested, who actually go to school every single day and ride these roads. You know what I mean? Because I don't take it north but once a week, so to go to BYU, right? So I mean, I don't think do you know what I mean?
Another idea is the police department tracks incidents and crashes, right? And they categorize them by bicycle, pedestrian.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have certain data, right? Like I can go and look to see crashes and incidents and deaths and whatnot. I feel like we need more people involved, right? Like I think that's what you're alluding to. Like, there's 20 of us here. How do we market it to maybe people in their fields who might be interested at school? You know what I mean? Because We literally are the densest population in all of Utah. Did you see that map?
Yeah.
The spike of, is it the Mesa area or Joaquin?
Okay.
So I feel like we have such an opportunity with the amount of people. We're gonna be wasting it on just our group. Is that what you're thinking? Yes, okay.
So. And
Yes.
maybe a little place to start, but, a couple months ago, I came here to see if we can get some volunteers because we're doing the built environment survey and lots of other partners. Built environment, so we're looking at all the bikeability, just the field, sidewalks, like what stairs, infrastructure goes, just to look at some health measures as well, but there's so many different ways you can use that information. You're going to get possible partners. So we ended up surveying like 40 different segments in each segment.
Really? I just feel like this thing is like opening Pandora's box. Like there's so many opportunity and different avenues with everybody's profession that we can somehow like utilize. Like it's insane. And I'm sure you're just like, yeah, I know this. That's what I did on the day, but I got it. So it's just trying to quantify it in actually real world. How do we actually, do it? You know what I mean? So I think that's what we sort of have to put our heads together. Because right now we all have a goal of what we want, right? We want safer streets. And we understand that the city is in charge of those streets. And usually they listen to more people. So I mean, and I just, sorry, I'm rambling. So.
They'll listen to the data.
I hope they will. I only say that because last time, I don't know if you guys remember, came on. And said, what it was demonstrated to you that there were a certain amount of people, this is different than data, right? I mean, like people are data.
Right.
Like if it was demonstrated that, there was enough people who complained about Canyon Road, could you put up bollards or some, divide? He basically said like, no, we're gonna do what we want. Did anybody else feel that? Like, I was very frustrated. And so like, I'm just concerned, like, let's say we put all this energy, we put like 100 hours into trying to get BYU students to I don't know, quantify what we're trying to get. And then we take it back to K-Pump and he says the exact same thing.
Maybe it's so many of the times we get the dollars.
Oh, good point. So perhaps we're marketing. Maybe instead of marketing, to save our lives, we need to market if you want to start about it.
Other organizations share.
So
That like. different other
Yes.
share.
Okay, then we can collaborate. So we gotta figure that out. You have given us food for thought, my friends. And I'm really hungry, by the way.
Yeah.
I want some pizza.
And on that note, I can't really speak for Kahan or.
Yeah.
or-
I think it's for me having the bus.
I know that they have strict standards as to how the roads are supposed to be built,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they can't.
Yeah.
Modify those. or-
Yeah, I don't think it's seriously like this barbaric, their manuals are super outdated, right? But I'm just saying, like, they can't turn us away if there's enough of us. You know what I mean? There's enough angry people, saying, hey, look at the data, what are you doing? I'm going to not vote for you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there's always gonna be a budget, we struggle with budget too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand, I just, when they do start spending like the $600,000 water bill, that doesn't work. But everyone's out of the year, it's like, they have some money, I know they got money, and I know they have budgets that they can do too. This is me not like, I understand there's a system that I have to like go through, right? But this is me living my idealistic, like idyllic world. I'm simplifying it, probably shouldn't, but.
I'm curious.
You're not like go to sleep thinking about this. Literally, I said, everybody, okay, I don't like to see it like that. I think it's-
Well, should we wrap things up?
He's
No, I haven't stopped recording.
DK is not here. He can't.
So.
Thank you for doing that, by the way. We didn't give you a.